Good morning. Good to see everybody. Um, I know it's a special holiday in lots of families, and we could talk about the emptiness of gender, but I'm not going to go into that. However, from this perspective, this is a special Mother's Day presentation because it's considered that Prajnaparamita is the mother of all the Buddhas. It's the mother of all the Buddhas because this direct perception of form is emptiness, emptiness is form, is the gateway to full enlightenment. So I'm going to start with PowerPoint again. And it always just takes me a minute to, even though I think it's ready, it's never exactly ready. Okay, so these are the Mother's Day pictures. There we go. Two pictures of the Prajnaparamita as a visual form. A Tibetan one and a classical Indian one. So in the Tibetan one, you can see she's holding a Prajnaparamita text in her left hand and a Vajra, the symbol of immutability, in her other hand. So we're talking about Prajnaparamita as the nature of all things. So I'd like to review again because this is subtle and it's not, let's just say it's not easy to really look at this carefully. And again, we're using our experience from shamatha to pay particular attention and not let our minds get distracted in terms of how it fits in your bigger philosophy. We're just looking at this clearly and simply, element by element today. Later, you can look at it from a larger picture if you wish, but in order to keep it simple and understandable, I'm going through it in what I think are understandable steps. So last week, we are looking at how everything, ourselves and everything in the world, is what we would call compounded, made out of lots of parts, lots of causes and conditions. There's no ultimate discoverable, so far discoverable, what we would call a partless part, a unit that cannot be further divided. Even the smallest unit, as we find it, of form still has a top, a bottom, a left, and right. So there's nothing that is findable that has a separate, independent existence. Everything is what we say is an aggregate, or all of these different aspects coming together. And so we were looking at a wave and how a wave is not separate from the water. And if we looked into the atoms, we would find in the waves lots of microscopic parts. So then if we think of gravity, there's the causes and conditions of gravity causing the movement in the water. So there's no independent, separately existing wave apart from all of its aggregates and causes and conditions. And also, we were talking about the wave is the name wave, right? We're looking at something that's occurring and it's a name. and it's something that's occurring and changing pretty quickly. So we can't even, most of the time, see in the ocean the changing quality of the wave. So I was thinking, many, many mornings I go out and observe the impermanence of the sunrise. And it's easier to see impermanence because the change is more observable. And so if you were looking at any of these pictures individually, you could say that's a sunrise. But watching the sunrise, still you can't find the discrete moments of change, but you see this circumstance of change due to causes and conditions fluidly taking place right before your eyes, and we call it a sunrise. So we start to understand that what we experience, we have named, and often when we name it, we solidify it or we reify it. But when we investigate it, there is not one picture that is a separate sunrise. It's this process that's a sunrise. So we have this world that includes us, made up of many compounded objects that we have named, including this body. We have this body, and you would say this body is Khenmo, or this body is Annie. It's my body. So we've named it, and we've created a relationship with it as though it were separate, isolated, distinct. So this is, form is emptiness. The emptiness part is that it is dependent on causes and conditions and dependent on all of the different parts, this body or the sunrise. Then we have emptiness is form. This is our job for today. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. And this really gets quite extraordinarily beautiful because, let's see, we might even go to another slide. Okay, we're going to this slide now. Let's just keep it. The wave is arising. All of these causes and conditions create the wave, and the wave is made up of the ocean, but also of everything in the ocean and all the tiny molecules. So it's a dependently arising thing that we call the wave. This dependent arising is its emptiness. So when we look at it from the perspective of emptiness, because it lacks an independent existence, it can never be isolated from the ocean. It can't actually be isolated from other phenomena. It can't be isolated from the moon, which is affecting its gravity. It can't be isolated from the microplastics in the water. It is dependently existing, and because of that, there is an openness and malleability in relation to other things. So for instance, if we were able to clean up the pollution, clean up the microplastics, because it is empty, it can change. So this emptiness arises as the wave. This interdependence arises as the wave. Emptiness, interdependence is form. Form is interdependence. Emptiness is form. This is important because we can say that it's not fixed. Whoops. Oh no. And because it's not fixed, it can change. Think about what that means for you. As Thich Nhat Hanh is saying in a more direct way, this body is emptiness, emptiness is this body. Because emptiness or interdependence is this body, the body can change. The body is subject to causes and conditions. It's subject to what we eat. It's subject to our energetic systems. It's subject to the medicine we take. It's not fixed. It doesn't have an independent existence. So form is emptiness and emptiness is form, is describing the complexity of our interconnectedness, our interbeing, our interdependence. And when we are contemplating the Heart Sutra, this is the investigation, is to see the complexity of the interdependence and allow the complexity of the interdependence to become let's say, the antidote, or to overcome the simplistic reification or assumption that this is my body, this is the way I am, and I'm going to assume that I'm not going to change, and when the body does change, I'm going to suffer. Rather, it's this brilliantly complex interconnection and interdependence, interbeing, and when we have this perspective, we have a different relationship with the world and with all of life. So let's say the conflict of India and Pakistan. If a nuclear weapon had gone off, we would be interdependent with all the effects of that nuclear weapon. So it makes us more responsible for all of life. It's not simply an abstract understanding. It's a view that affects how we see and how we act. So from a Mother's Day perspective, we could say, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. All living beings then are a part of us in the same way that mother and child are a part of each other, or father and a child are part of each other. It's even a more dynamic relationship than parent and child. It's interbeing. So when we're reciting the Heart Sutra, we're connecting with a reminder not to solidify into a separate drop of water. Rather, understand and be a part of this interconnected reality. So while we're still looking at the wave, this is a quote, "Emptiness is form," is another way of saying that form arises from emptiness, and emptiness is the basis that allows dependent origination of form. Thus, the world of form is a manifestation of emptiness. And I'm going to repeat that. The world of form is a manifestation of emptiness. Just as this single wave is a manifestation of emptiness, the interdependence arising, we call it form, we call it a wave, but it's an arising of interdependence. So too, we are a manifestation or an arising of emptiness, of interdependence, of interbeing. So I'm going to lead two guided meditations to really take this in. Again, keeping it very simple. Let's take a minute or two to just contemplate the wave is interdependence. Interdependence is the wave. The wave is a manifestation of emptiness. The wave is an expression of interconnectedness. Interconnectedness, interbeing, arises as wave. Now we're going to look at this from the perspective of oneself. So stare at your own little picture. If we had mirrors here, it would be better. And take it very personally. This body is emptiness. This body is interdependence. Looking at your own relationship with your own body. Think of all the ways it is interdependent with all of life. And now, interdependence, emptiness, is arising as this body. Interdependence, interbeing, is the manifestation or the creation of this body. There's a incredible quote by Nagarjuna. To whomever emptiness is possible, all things are possible. To whomever emptiness is not possible, nothing is possible. If our bodies were not a manifestation of interdependence, it wouldn't change. We wouldn't go from strong to weak and weak to strong, from health to illness and illness to health. It is the interdependence arising as this body that is also not only the impermanence of the body, but the fluidity of change of life in the body, as the body. Similarly, last night we were on the brink of war. Now looks like peace is possible in India again. So the interdependence, the causes and conditions of whatever is appearing in the world is due to the arising of all the causes and conditions, the interdependence momentarily, seemingly this, and then in the next moment this, and in the next moment that. Due to causes and conditions, everything can change. And it's the beauty that helps us not only see that it's possible for us to change, that we don't have a fixed nature that's unchangeable, but also all other sentient beings are capable of change. Okay, let's keep this contemplation going and apply it to your own body. You could stay with this body is emptiness, impermanence, interdependence, or the reverse, impermanence, interdependence is this body. And notice that it starts to wear away this fixed view of self. So let's take this another couple of minutes. Let's go again with interdependence or emptiness is arising, expressing as this body.